Letitia James gets busted. It's her turn to go to prison. It's her turn for no one is above the law. Welcome to the Doug TenNapel channel. We've been following this Tish James stuff forever, back when she was the hunter, and now she's the hunted. Enjoy this episode as we get completely caught up on this issue. I'm only hitting it once until there's more news on it, but now you'll know exactly what the big crime was. Let's go to the Laura Ingraham angle. Thanks for watching. Give us a sub. Give us a thumbs up if you like the new putty colored wall instead of white. I did some painting last night like a real man.
And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain in her you-know-what. The Angle has obtained shocking allegations leveled by the Trump administration against New York Attorney General Letitia James. The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ accusing James of mortgage fraud.
Guilty, throw her in prison.
In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms.
So the falsifiable record, she said that she took we'll go into the residency of another state. She apparently has, because you get a tax write-off if you say that you're in a cheaper state, you pay those cheaper states taxes instead of the expensive taxes of New York.
He cited a property in Virginia that she's allegedly claimed as her principal residence, and a property in New York that she claimed as a 4-unit structure instead of the required, instead of a 5, which Pulte says means she was able to get a different type and more favorable loan. Joining me now is Jonathan Turley, Fox News contributor and law professor at GW University. Jonathan, mortgage fraud is rampant in the United States. There's all sorts of fraud that's rampant. There's disability fraud that they've vowed to crack down on in the Trump administration. But this is another thing that they have vowed to crack down on because it costs real money. Your reaction to these allegations?
Well, obviously, the irony is perfectly crushing. This is a person who prosecuted Trump for everything short of ripping a label off a mattress. And among the charges that were brought in New York, in not just the civil but the criminal case, was making false or misleading statements to financial institutions. And one of these sections, Section 1014, of the federal code, is prosecuted. It took me about 60 seconds of a search to find cases that the Department of Justice brought against people who falsely claimed that property was their principal residence in order to get loans.
So she did the exact same crime that she's prosecuted others on. That by definition means it's not revenge to say that that law should be applied to her. It should be applied to her doubly so because she applied it to other people. And of course, she falsely applied it to Trump. That's what's so weird. She's actually guilty of it. Trump is innocent.
So this is well-tread areas for the Justice Department. As for James, if we apply the Letitia James standard that she created, there'd be little question here. This seems pretty straightforward. What the administration is saying is this was not her principal residence. In fact, as a New York elected official, she had to say that her principal residence was in New York. This was an out-of-state residence. But also, they claim that in some of these forms, she actually states that her father is her husband in order to file as a married couple. So
lock her up. Lock her up. She put down her father as her spouse. She has the Ilhan Omar disease. What in the H is happening in New York? It's far more corrupt than we could ever imagine. And now it's all coming to light. And Letitia James, we're going to go into her quote over and over again and how she said, "No one is above the law. No one is above the law."
So there's a lot of those questions. And as you know, the Supreme Court just stated earlier in March in a case called Thompson that they want to see knowing false statements under sections like 1014, not just misleading statements. These are misleading statements. Either it's your principal residence or it's not.
Or it's not.
Either you're married to your father or he's your father. So they can this can satisfy the Thompson standard.
Yeah, well, Jonathan, we reached out to the DOJ, and they have no comment on this referral. We also reached out to Attorney General James, who did not respond to us either. So again, everyone wants the best interest rate you can get. I understand that. But, she's a lawyer. She knows that when you sign a mortgage application, that mortgage application, if you're borrowing money, if you're not borrowing money, nobody cares whether it's your principal residence, except, where you file your taxes. But she decided to state that that was her principal residence, knowing it was not her principal residence. I didn't even know she had property. I mean, I guess she had property in Virginia and she has rental or investment property in New York. That's fine.
Her investment property, we've covered already. It was like she's already making like $5 million on it, just totally illegal. And she's a lawyer who lied about her residence. A lawyer knows she must be disbarred, unable to practice law. We're going to get to a video in a second. We're going to keep doing these videos. This is going to take a while, guys. So take a seat and you'll get the full story. But in her claiming to be a resident of another state, she can no longer be the Attorney General of New York. It's worse than you think. Let's keep getting through this.
Fine. But in the New York matter, to get the favorable rate, the building could only have 4 units, but it looks like the entirety of this building, it had 5 units, meaning it was in violation of the actual loan agreement. And again, this is not a novel application of the law, Jonathan, as you stated during the persecution of Donald Trump. She was using all these novel applications of law to go after him. This isn't novel. This is a black and white issue. You either did or you didn't.
Right. And this has been prosecuted in the past. Now, we have not heard her side of this, but these documents
her side is, I'm a black female Democrat. That's the only argument that she has. The law doesn't apply to me because I'm Letitia James, and the law applies to Trump because he was going to beat Biden and Kamala Harris. That's all you need to know. That's what the law means in New York. It is not tied to the Constitution.
Themselves are quite damning. It's hard to see how the residences listed were her principal residence. The business about her father is just bizarre. Now, I'll note that one of the things that Letitia James stressed in her case against Trump is that Trump had to review documents that were filed in his name. And so she dismissed the argument that this was something that Trump's people put together. She said he's ultimately responsible. So they allege that she gave a power of attorney in a couple of these instances, but according to her own standard, that's not enough.
Yeah, she needs to get locked up. She's not. Well, you can tell me in the chat below. We're going to keep going on this, but do you think Letitia James gets busted for this? It's a simple yes or no. Yes or no. James gets busted. Yes. James gets busted. No. She gets away with it scot-free. Here's Byron Donalds weighing in a most delicious way. He says, no one is above the law. He's quoting Letitia James. Even when you think the rules don't apply to you. That's a literal quote from Letitia James. You're not above the law, even when you think the rules don't apply to you. Here's Tish James mocking Trump. Roses are red, violets are blue. No one's above the law, even when you think the rules don't apply to you. By the way, that doesn't rhyme. You have a terrible cadence. I would imagine she probably isn't a very good dancer either. And then she writes, Happy Valentine's Day. That was from 1 year ago, February of last year. Here's the New York Post headline. Trump administration refers New York Attorney James, Tish James, for potential prosecution over alleged mortgage fraud. Okay, that's pretty easy, pretty straightforward too. Now, here's the Western Lensman, Letitia James. This is from this morning. She's doing this old number. And I don't know how many of you have done this before. You can tell me in the chat below. Have you ever pretended to be on the phone to not have to engage people? Like if you don't want to talk to someone, you're like, oh, because they can't tell who you're talking to. Remember, Kamala Harris did this number too. When you don't want to have the police or you don't have to answer questions, you do this, you're talking on the phone, blah, blah, blah. And really there's no one on the call, So here she is doing the same thing. Letitia James, who never saw a microphone she didn't love to bloviate into about Trump, suddenly doesn't want to talk to the media. Look at this. Employs the patented Gavin Newsom pretends to be on the phone move. Remember when during the fire when Gavin Newsom goes, I'm on the phone with the president. She goes, well, can I talk to him? He goes, well, I'm not actually on the phone with the president. So there she is. She's talking on the phone. Don't bother me. Letitia, no one's above the law. James dodges questions about mortgage fraud scandal outside New York City home. Pretends to be on the phone. She's saying, order me more Panda Express. I want the big plate. Orange chicken, fried rice. Here's, this is from Maze Moore, December 2018. Now, this is the video of when she first took her office. NBC breaks the news that incoming Attorney James is planning to investigate the Trump kids. Now, this is very telling. This lawyer guy, Harry Litman, who's from La Jolla, of course, I love anything San Diego, is going to go into when she first went into office in 2018. Listen to this. He actually has a lot of warnings about her going after Trump.
NBC News has exclusively learned that the newly elected incoming New York Attorney General plans to launch some sweeping investigations into President Trump, into his family. Letitia James tells NBC News, quote, we will use every area of the law to investigate President Trump and his business transactions and that of his family as well. She plans to look into the following: Donald Trump's real estate holdings in New York, that June 2016 Trump Tower meeting with a Russian official, any government subsidies that Donald Trump received, whether he's in violation of the Emoluments Clause, the Trump Foundation. How big of a problem might this pose for a president, and what kind of standing does James have to look into some of these things?
Yeah, great questions. It will potentially pose a problem for Trump, but there are risks here. It's a very ambitious agenda. The Trump Tower meeting, for example.
That's the Russia. She was trying to pin him as having a tower meeting in Trump Tower about Russia.
In addition, there are tricky constitutional issues here that are going to divert her into the courts, and
this is a big one right here. Listen to this.
That will be tricky. And she's an elected official, unlike the other investigators. Yeah. There are constitutional questions about when a state official can go after the president.
And that's what all these lawsuits are doing right now. So even back then, can a state official go after a president? Can't, because they have a jurisdiction. It's for inside their state. And all of these New York judges and DC judges are launching lawsuits against the president, say to stop him from deporting illegals or from shutting down U.S. aid. And that's why the accusation against this judicial overreach of these lower courts, that they're overstepping their boundary against the executive branch of the president. We have a separation of powers, our three-prong leadership, the Congress, the court, presidency, and they're overstepping their boundaries. So yes, there should be checks and balances. They are not supposed to be able to run roughshod on the president. Now, the president says, fine, you went after me, Letitia James. How about I have my DOJ, that would be under Pam Bondi, the Department of Justice. How about they come after you for your real estate? She certainly can't claim it's unfair, I don't think. Okay, now this guy has a very interesting take on Letitia James not being able to be Attorney General. Watch this, and I haven't heard of this guy, but I like the clip. I thought it rang true. So here's Vince.
If her residence is officially in a completely different state, her job is vacated.
You hear that?
Meaning she is not the Attorney General of the state of New York anymore. This case goes far beyond just who did she defraud when it came to some banks. It goes to what extent did she defraud the people of the state of New York? If she actually established her residence in a completely different state, New York state law dictates she's not allowed to be the Attorney General anymore. You are not allowed to hold public office in New York if you're not a resident of the state. And that would also mean that the ensuing prosecution of President Trump that took place just weeks later was itself a total scam for yet another reason, because she wasn't the lawful Attorney General of the state.
Whoops.
I am very eager to see where all of this goes. The Trump administration identifying this, handing this now off to the Justice Department, the Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Okay, so that's the main thing, is Letitia James may not even be the rightful Attorney General of the state. So this keeps getting better. Hold on, my people. We got a bonus clip. Here's Letitia James's response to Trump, and you'll hear her refer to she's going to end his presidency in 2026. She means they're going to put Hakeem Jeffries in as Speaker of the House, and they're going to try to impeach him. Watch this.
My mission is clear. I'm focused. I'm prepared. I'm ready. I've been trained by the best. I went to Howard University that overturned legal segregation in this country. I've been taught in those classrooms where Thurgood Marshall once taught. I'm not afraid of no president. Donald Trump, we're ready for you. We're coming for you. We're standing up for you. We're fighting on. We're not going down silent. Victory, my friends, is clear. It's now. And I'm not waiting 4 years. I'm waiting 2 until a speaker by the name of Hakeem Jeffries comes to bring us some rest. Come on, ladies. It's up to us. We saved this democracy before. We'll save it now. Let's go.
Question to you now. Let me know in the comments below. Does Letitia James get in trouble over this real estate? And I mean, go to court. Will it be ongoing? Is there traction? It's a yes, she's in trouble, or no, she gets off scot-free. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for liking. Thanks for watching. I'm Doug in Exile. Thumbs up if you like the putty wall.